Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. And this video is on 10 skills that every homemaker or young woman should learn before they get their own home. I have so much on my mind about this. This is so important for us to understand as young women, whether you have your own home right now or whether you don't. It's best to know while you're under the roof of your own parents' house before you get married, if the Lord wills. And I'd say the number one most important thing for a homemaker, of course, is a summary of all 10 of them, is taking care of a home. I mean, that's what a homemaker's duty is. But I think that it's more than just taking care of a home, cleaning up things and washing dishes. You know, taking care of a home is a big task. What I think of it is that when you have your own home, or when you're in the future, if you get married, that, and even my brothers are learning this, so the man works for the home and the woman works in the home. That's how I see it, because of course the men are supposed to do the work that's out and about. They take care of the needs around the house. If something is broken, then the man will go in there and fix it, where the woman is supposed to be taking care of the house, the inside, just making sure it's not just a house but it's a home, so that way it's comfortable for all and taken care of with loving hands as well. Number two, but it's definitely important to know when you get your own household, and that is how to cook and bake. I know many women who don't actually know how to cook and bake until they get married, so they have to learn that when they're married, which of course is not a bad thing. It's just easier whenever you learn it young, and how to prepare good, healthy meals for your family, because I just think it's important. I think of the Proverbs 31 woman and how she she rises early, well, at night, and prepares food for her household and portions for her maidens. She gets up and prepares. She doesn't go to McDonald's and go get a burger. No, she prepares it in her own home. Why? Because that is where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to learn how to cook and provide for our family in the home, where the man, the husband, provides out of the home for the home. I think the third very important one for a skill that women need to learn, that young ladies need to learn, is sewing and mending. I never knew how I could use this skill so much and how helpful it actually be, but imagine a ripper tearing something. Of course, nowadays we can just go to the store and buy something new if something rips, or it just seems it's getting too old, you can just go and get something else. But we need to be good stewards over the things that we have, and so sewing and mending is a very important skill to have, especially when it gets to the time to where it's hard to find modest clothing and you want to be able to make your own modest clothing. And so I think sewing and mending is such an important skill to learn, that we should learn young, and at least just know how to mend some things, so that way you're not left with like a torn skirt or a torn shirt and you don't know how to fix it. And number four, I would say being a good steward over the things that we have, which I had mentioned in the sewing and mending. Being a good steward over the things we have shows the Lord that we're really truly thankful for what we have, because I feel like in this generation we are so greedy and so selfish, and the things that we have we cannot have enough of. But being a good steward over the things we have, the Lord will bless that. We just want to make sure that we're glorifying the Lord with everything that we have, and making sure we're not being wasteful. So yes, just a good reminder to be a good steward over everything that God has given us. Another very important skill to learn is how to grow and produce your own food. I feel like so often we rely on the grocery stores to give us fresh produce, not really, and we don't rely enough on God to provide the food. I think back then, and you look at the biblical times, how they seem to rely on God so much more, because they didn't have a local grocery store to go to and pick up food. No, they had to go to the Lord and ask Him to make their garden grow. And just bless the food that was growing, because that shows the true faith that they had in these people. And I think it's so much better to just grow our own food, because it's from your garden to your plate. It is incredible. Also, the taste difference between store-bought and to garden grown. And I think that's what I want to lean more on, is learning how to have our own livestock. And so I feel like that is so important, at least just to learn how to grow our own garden or have chickens for livestock. Something that I found is so extremely important that the Lord has been working on my life lately is organizing and decluttering. You might be wondering, how's the Lord been teaching you how to organize? Well, I feel like so often we clutter up our lives with things that we don't need. And like I had mentioned before, we don't rely on God to provide those things because we can just go right up to the store and buy it. No, we need to rely on the Lord for things that we have and declutter our lives from overabundance that we do not need. And I think a happy home is organized and decluttered from so much stuff, because it can be very overwhelming when you have too much. And then you can't be creative. There's not that thought process that you can use things and turn them into something else. That's what I think is so wrong with this generation, is that we don't have enough thinking. We have so much stuff and before us. I think organization is a huge part of how to have a happy home, because with organization, you're not so overwhelmed with everything that's misplaced. You want to have organization so it's easier to find things. And number 7 is being aware of what's around us, what's in our food, what's put in our clothing, and just what's going on. We want to be aware so that way we can be prepared. I'm sure the Proverbs 31 woman was very prepared. I mean, she prepared clothing for the winter for her household. She clothed them in scarlet because she was preparing them for the winter, and we should know how to prepare ourselves with the foods that we eat. This is a different time, of course. We are to live healthy lifestyles. We should know what is going on around us, but not be scared about it. Just give it to God and ask Him to show us things that we might have not seen before. And number 8 is purity and a pure heart. This is also modesty as well. It is so important for a happy home to be filled with purity. You don't want any worldliness filled in the home. You want to make sure that you're learning how to keep a pure heart. And I feel like modesty is also a huge part in this, because we don't want a home with immodesty. That's just bringing impurities in by dressing immodestly. And I just think of like the old times, how they wore those beautiful dresses out to pick produce from their garden, and no matter what they did, they were modest, and they also had a pure heart. And that is just something that us young women need to learn before we have our own household, because we need to make sure that our heart is in the right place. Of course, we're not perfect, and I think we all understand that, but just to make sure that we're keeping purity in mind, that this is so important for us to live out our lives honoring to Christ. And number 9 is also very important, is raising children, at least knowing the basics of it, because I feel that even if the Lord never provides some people with children, or we don't, that's not what the Lord is calling us to do, I think it's still so important to learn these skills, just in case, any situation arises, and just to know how to, maybe whether that's change a diaper or give a baby a bottle or something. Just getting those skills and the hands-on skills that are so important to know. I just read the scriptures and I'm just amazed at how much He mentions children. And children are a heritage of the Lord. They're a blessing. They truly are. And so I feel like if the Lord says that, wow, we really need to focus on that as well. And just learning the basics, that's all. You don't have to go in depth of it, of course, but at least before you have your own household, knowing the basics of taking care of not only babies, but toddlers and children. And number 10, which is the most important, summarizing up the whole entire thing, is learning to ask ourselves, what do the scriptures say about these things? And not just asking ourselves, but applying it. Let's search the scriptures out and see why, if God really requires these things of us, and what he says in his word is a happy household, is what is making a happy home and a godly home, God honoring to him. I think that is the most important thing that summarizes it up. It's like, what's the point in doing this? It's because God says. It's because that's what he gave us. He gave us the illustration of the Proverbs 31 woman to show us how to live our lives, how a woman is supposed to be in the household. And I think it's such a beautiful role that he has given us. Let us not squander away these years in which we can be learning to honor him through, in which we can be learning these important skills. Let us be grateful for this time and give thanks and praises to him. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I will see you next time.